Welcome back, guys. Johnny Keck over at AMP Futures, and thank you for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and give you an introduction to how to use the charting within TradingView platform. TradingView is a web-based platform that's available at AMP Futures for free at no monthly cost. In the earlier video, we've already demonstrated how to show you how to execute trades off the chart. In this particular video, we're going to simply show you how to use the charting application. Okay, so right now we're logged into the platform, as you can see. And right now I want to show you a couple things. The watch list, I want to cover this really quick since this is going to be, should be very brief. It's very important for you to understand what the watch list is. It's going to be a great tool for you to use, for you to switch from one instrument to another on your chart. And very useful, especially if you only have one monitor display, if you're using a computer, or perhaps if you're using a wireless device, such as an iPad or a cell phone device. Typically, wireless devices, the display is not going to be as large as what you typically would have with a monitor with your computer. So you just don't have the luxury of spacing out your workspace across different monitors, or just having the luxury of having multiple charts on different monitors in itself. So what you want to do is, I would recommend perhaps just clearing out the symbols for now by clicking the little button that you see right there. Hit clear symbols, hit yes, and then that's going to clear the symbol out. So right now it's blank. Then go in there and start adding all the symbols that you like to focus on or that you trade. So there's two ways of doing it. If you're already familiar with CQG symbol map, what I mean by CQG symbol map is CQG symbols are they're a little different than the traditional exchange symbols. So in this case right now, if you're looking on the chart, we're looking at a mini S&P chart, and if you notice, the symbol's reading EPM6. So that's going to throw a new user off, because at the end of the day, the real symbol for the mini S&P is ES. So that might take a little while to get used to. So if that's the case for yourself and you're a new user and you're just not familiar with the symbol map that CQG uses, then what I would recommend doing is typing in some sort of keyword that's remotely close to the market that you're trading. So for example, Australian dollar, the real symbol is DA6. All right, so you would have never guessed that. But if you type in Australian, for example, now you can see that the symbol's been populated, and now you'll be able to identify what the symbol is. So that's something that I would highly recommend doing. Just type in something remotely close to what the symbol is in terms of a keyword. So for example, crude oil, CLE, for example. All right, so for the most part, most of the symbols will be similar. Like for example, YM is going to be YM, but there's going to be some oddball ones in there, like CA6 is Canadian dollar, for example. All right, so in the meantime, I'm already familiar with the symbol. So what I'm just going to do is type in the symbol, contract month and year, just hit enter on my keyboard, and then it's going to add the symbol within the watch list. All right, so there's one. In this case, if you don't know it, like earlier, then you would just type in the symbol name, crude, for example. All right, so there it is, populated. Now you're just going to left-click on the auto-populated result, and then it adds the symbol in there. All right, so there's July crude. Let's do June mini Dow, and let's do the June mini NASDAQ. All right, so we'll stick with those for now, for the 4 contracts that we just added. And now watch what happens when I click on each symbol within the watch list. All right, you see that's the mini S&P. That's crude. You see how the chart changes to mini Dow, and chart changes to mini NASDAQ. So it makes it very easy for me to switch from one instrument to another, and that's why I like it. So it's very important for you to have an understanding of how to use the watch list. Of course, if you hover your mouse cursor over each symbol, you can always delete the symbols by clicking the red X. So there's one symbol gone, and then you can always type in the symbol to re-add it. All right, so always type in where it shows add symbol. Once you have it in there, just hit enter on your keyboard, or if you're using your phone device, just press with your finger, and it will add that particular symbol within the watch list. All right, so that is important to understand. Right off the bat, I want to point that out, that I would definitely recommend using the watch list specifically for these purposes. Another thing that we get a question a lot is it possible to have multiple chart displays? So right now we're looking at one chart, and there's to be a question, can I look at 2 charts, or can I look at 4 or 5 or 8, or whatever the case may be? And the answer to the question is yes, you can. So right here in the top right corner of the chart, there's an option that says select layout. So if you click that drop-down menu, you will see different chart layout options that you can choose. So it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to look at which format that you're comfortable with or that you like. So in this case, that's a 2-chart split right down the middle. So if I click on that option there, now you can see I have 2 charts. One's Canadian dollar, the other one's June, the mini S&P contract. Now, if you to select each chart, you just got to left-click on that chart. So one way of identifying if you have that chart selected, keep an eye on the header title. Let me remove the indicators on this chart real quick. All right, so you can see Canadian dollar, you can see mini S&P. Notice the mini S&P is a bit grayed out. That means because I'm selected on this chart here. So watch what happens if I click on the mini S&P chart. You can see now that bolds. So that's letting me know that I have this chart selected. Why is that important for you to understand? Because if you're trying to make changes for a specific chart, if you have a multi-chart display, in this case I have two charts, but I want to make a change on the mini S&P chart, you got to make sure that you're clicked on that specific chart to make the change for that chart. So in this case, if I'm clicking here and I'm trying to right-click here, so most of the time what's nice about TradingView is when you click in the body of that chart anywhere, it'll automatically revert it to that chart. But the main thing that you're looking for is the bold and the header title of the symbol itself to let you know that you've selected that chart. All right, so in this case, now we have a multi-chart display. You're not limited to this particular option. This is what an 8-chart display looks like. One thing I would probably recommend doing if you want to maximize the way that your chart is displayed, you might want to minimize the trading panel here. Just by left-clicking on it, now you can see you have a full display, so it gives you a little more space to fit those charts in there. All right, and then these options that you see here, link symbol to all charts, link interval to all charts, what this is going to allow you to do is link across the multiple charts. So right now I do not have those options checked, which means that each chart is independent from each other. What I mean by that, this is a mini S&P chart. Okay, let's change this to mini NASDAQ. Let's change that to mini Dow. Let's change that to crude oil. So you see how each chart is independent from each other. And then the same goes for these as long as I change them. So let's say EU6M6, that's the euro. All right, and I'll show you how to change symbols and time frames after this, but I just want to show you what these particular options do here. All right, so now, right now, because these two options are not checked, each chart is independent from each other. So that means I can manually make adjustments for each chart, and I can look at them differently. Now, one thing is you can have, if you decide that you want to link symbol to all charts, so let me show you something real quick. Right now, I currently have this chart selected. How I'm able to identify that because it's bolded. You can see it, and the rest of them are grayed out. So if I go ahead and check link symbol to all charts, it's going to link everything to euro, as you can see. So every chart has changed to the euro, and that's because I had this chart selected. Now, let's just watch, for example, this is looks like all the time frames are 30 minutes, it looks like. So let me change one of the time frames on the chart. I'll just do this, a 1-minute chart here. Okay, so I'm selected on this chart at the moment, right? If I go here and link interval to all charts, it should change all the charts to a 1-minute time frame, which, as you can see, it has done. All right, so that's pretty much what these two linked options will do. It just makes it easier to link the charts across multiple chart displays. For myself, I tend to leave them unchecked because I do like to have independent charts from each other. However, as I mentioned, every trader is different from one another, so it's all personal preference. The main thing is understanding what it does and where to go to activate them. All right, so this is what that particular function will do. And as far as the chart layout options I've explained, you can go ahead and choose whichever layout you decide to use, and it will just basically create that specific layout. So that's pretty much what these chart layout options will do, and it's very nice to have that so you have the ability to switch different displays. All right, for now I'm going to leave these unlinked, and I'm going to go back to a regular single chart display, and let's switch back to the EPM16. All right, so now let's cover a couple things on the chart itself. All right, the first thing I want to cover is how do you change symbols and how do you change time frame. All right, so there's so many different ways to do both of those. The first one I want to mention is how to change the symbol. Okay, so if you want to change the symbol, you can do it either from here in the top left corner of the chart, where the existing symbol is being shown. If you left click in there, now I can go ahead and type in any symbol, for example, ENQM6, that's the mini NASDAQ. Now the chart has been changed. Or I can right click on the chart and I can hit change symbol here, and then now I just type in any symbol, CLEN16, that's crude oil now. All right, so that's another way. The easiest way for myself, and this is probably as you get used to the platform, this is probably something you'll be using more frequently. This is where I'm going to go ahead and just type in, for example, EPM6. All right, just going to type that in on my keyboard, hit enter, and now you can see that the chart has been changed to that particular symbol. All right, so that's pretty much how you change symbol on the chart. Very easy to do. Changing time frames on the chart, you have multiple ways as well. So you can either click this little drop down here where it shows the existing time frame. So right now we're using a 1-minute time frame. If I click that drop down menu, these are what we call presets. So presets basically mean what you see available is what you can choose from. It does not necessarily mean that you're limited to only using those time frames in general, but this is pretty much just the presets of what TradingView has chosen as part of this list. Now, one thing that's kind of cool is if you notice here, there's little button here. So that's a 1-minute chart. Watch what happens when I hit the drop-down menu here, and if you notice there's a little star there next to the time frame. So if I click on that time frame, or better yet the star, it'll add it as a favorite, and watch what it does. So I already have a 1-minute time frame, but watch what happens when I click 3. All right, so let's do this. 1, if I check all of them, go back to it real quick. All right, there you go. So if I click on the stars again, it's going to add shortcuts to those particular time frames. So that's pretty cool that that's available, and it just makes it a little more organized for you. If you know that, hey, those presets are nice, I'm okay with those presets, then you can go ahead and add them as favorites, so you can have shortcut icons on the toolbar there, so you can actually click on it to change easily to that time frame. If you don't want it, just deselect the star, and now it just defaults it back to just 1, which is going to show the current interval that you have on the chart itself. Now this little button with the the box with the 3 dots there, if you click there, that allows you to type in any interval you want. So for example, 10. All right, so that's another way of changing the time frame, just by simply clicking there and typing in the value. Another way, right-click on the chart, change interval. All right, so that's another way as well. 1-5, enter. And then just like changing the symbol, once you get more fluent with the platform, then just typing in the number on your keyboard and just hitting enter on your keyboard is going to change the time frame. So for example, we're using a 15-minute time frame. If I just type in 5, hit enter on my keyboard, now the time frame has been changed to a 5-minute time frame. All right, so that's pretty much how you change time frames on the chart. This little drop down here are different chart types that are available to you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and select the, whichever chart type that you want to use, whether it's bars, candles, hollow candles, and so forth. This is pretty self-explanatory. I won't get too much in detail what this is here. Same concept though. You can select favorites. So right now I have a regular candlestick chart, but if I start adding favorites, now you can see I'm creating shortcut icons for each one of those chart types. So now I can just go ahead and click on whichever chart type that I want to use, and that might make it a little easier for me to organize that. All right, again, you can deselect them by clicking on the star. So basically, if you click the star, star on, star off. All right, so that's different chart types there. All right, this is right here. This little gear icon is a chart properties menu. So this is going to allow you to get in there and make changes to how the chart looks. This is always a great place to go if you want to change the colors of your candles, the borders, the wicks, the price line, the scales. All right, so I won't go through every variation and make all the changes just to keep the video short. However, I just want to make sure that you have an understanding where to go. So again, it's clicking on the preferences menu here. Scales, for example. This allows you to change the scaling, the up and down axis, for example, the increasing or decreasing bar spacing. You can change the percentages of your margins. One thing I always say is, whenever in doubt, just check the option, see what it does. If you like it, then keep it. If not, then just uncheck it. So like, for example, the countdown by default is not enabled. So if I check it, you can see now there's a countdown that gets enabled there. So that's just letting me know that I'm using a 5-minute time frame. In about 4 minutes and 36 seconds, that's when the next 5-minute bar is going to start to accumulate. All right, so that's pretty much what the scales will do. Background, it's just changing the background color of the chart as well as your horizontal and vertical grids. So for example, if I change this background to black, you can see that the chart has changed to that color. So it's as simple as selecting a specific color template that you like and then making your changes accordingly. Time zone, I'm in Los Angeles, so I set it to Los Angeles by default. It's set to UTC, or you can set it to exchange. It's up to you however you want that. And then trading tab, won't spend too much time on that. That's more focusing on the trading aspect of the platform. But this will basically allow you to make any changes and modifications of how you want certain orders to be displayed on your chart, or if you want, for example, an order confirmation every time you place a trade. I morely focused on this particular menu option in the last video, so I'll go ahead and just stay away from it for now. All right, and that's pretty much the property section for the chart itself. The indicators, I'm going to save for a different video because that will prolong the video because there's some certain cool things I want to show you in relation to the indicators. So I want to package that all together in the next video. But in this case, it's as simple as left-clicking on the indicators, locating the indicator that you want to add. So for example, the ADX or Bollinger Bands. All right, so if you left-click on it, the indicator will be added onto the chart. But as I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and just demonstrate exactly how to use the indicators in a different video. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to the next comparison chart here. So, but that is where you go to access indicators. Then you see compare. If you click on the compare button here, this gives you the ability to add a comparison chart. So this is really cool. Right now I'm looking at a mini S&P chart. If I type in ENQM6, okay, now I'm adding mini NASDAQ behind the mini S&P chart. So now I can see a comparison chart between the two symbols, which is pretty cool. Now if you don't want it, you can always go back here on the top left corner of the chart. It will show you that that chart has been added. I'm going to go ahead and hit the X. It now deletes that comparison symbol. All right, so that's pretty much what the compare button does. It basically allows you to add a comparison chart overlaying the existing chart that you have within TradingView. All right, and then you have also these two buttons here, so for example, if I were to add an indicator, let's say the Arun indicator. All right, now watch what happens if I hit this undo button. It just basically reverts back to the previous state. If I want it back, then I'll just redo it. All right, so there's undo, there's redo. All right, so that's pretty much, you're just swapping back and forth from current state to previous state. And then this button here is full screen mode. So that's going to allow you to blow the chart up and look at a full-size chart so you don't see any of this other stuff around it. So for example, if I click it, now you can see it's a full chart. So that might be nice if you're only focusing just on the chart. You want to be able to execute trades off the chart, and you want to be able to maximize the display of the chart itself without seeing the other functions of the workspace around it. If you don't like it, just hit escape on your keyboard, or you can hit exit full screen at the top there, and it will just simply revert back to the integrated workspace, which will show you everything. All right, and that's pretty much what the top menu bar does here on the chart itself. It's pretty straightforward. In terms of what you see here, this is going to give you the description of the contract you have added on the chart. So you can go ahead and collapse it, or if you don't want to see it, for example, so just by clicking the little minimize button there if you don't want it. If you do want it, then just leave it as is. I personally like it. This right here is a drop-down menu. You can go ahead and format the symbol, for example. So it just takes you, it's just a shortcut way to get back to the property section of the chart to make changes. But, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as clicking this little icon here. This little icon here, the little eye icon, just allows you to show the candles or hide them, as you can see. This, again, a shortcut way to get to the property section. So there's so many different ways to get to the property section. You'll notice that throughout the platform as you start to use it. And then this little section here, open, high, low, close. So if you hover your mouse cursor on the chart, notice those values are changing. It's basically letting you know what those values are as you're placing your mouse cursor over that specific candle. Let me move this indicator for a second. All right, now that's done. All right, so that's pretty much what this is going to do here. Now, if you want to activate a crosshair, at this moment I'm just using a regular cursor. So if I click right here, I can change this to a crosshair, for example. All right, so now it's a regular crosshair, as you can see. Now I can go back to a regular arrow if I decide to do that. So the main thing is understanding where to go to activate the different pointer options. All right, and then changing the scaling of the chart. So if you want to change the scaling of your chart, so for example, if you want to decompress or compress the up and down axis of the chart, then what you can do is you can left click on the right side price panel of the chart. If you drag it down while holding down the left click, that's compressing the price scale. If you drag it up, that expands it. All right, now if you're not happy with the changes after you made some changes, you can always right click on the right side price panel, reset scale, and it reverts it back to the default state. All right, so that's changing the up and down compression on the right side price panel. Again, left clicking, or if you're taking, if you're on a phone device, you're going to take your finger, press down on it, and just drag up and down with your finger. So you just drag down like this to compress it, drag up to decompress it. All right, and then you can also double left click to instead of right click reset scale, you can also double left click on the right side price scale to revert everything back to a default state. On the bottom time scale that you see here, it's the same concept. The only difference is you're going left and right. So you're going to hold down your left click and go right while dragging right. That is going to decrease bar spacing, so essentially making those bars a lot smaller. If you drag to the left, that's going to increase bar spacing, making those bars a lot bigger. All right, so same thing. If you're not happy with the changes that you've made, then just go ahead and either double left click on the bottom time scale or right click and reset scale. All right, these little panel that you see here, so when you're hovered above the body of the chart, you won't see it, but if you hover down towards the bottom, then you will then see it. So there's multiple functions here. So if you scroll to the right, that's just going to allow you to scroll forward to see more chart region moving to the right. If you want to go back to the left, then just scroll to the left. So essentially, this is kind of like you want to see more historical data, for example. All right, so you can also just take your left click and drag across the body of the chart as well. So that would be probably an easier way, because the scroll sometimes is a little slow, as you can see, versus just grabbing it and dragging back just like that. If you revert here, if you click this little button here, it reverts everything back to a default state. So it just basically means that we're back to current bars now. So watch what happens also when I click this little back arrow. You see how that little arrow activates there? That's letting me know, okay, I want to go back to real-time data. So if I click that, now it's back to the current bar. All right, so that little menu option, that little button, the little half circle, that's just basically revert everything back to the previous state. The negative button, the plus sign, that's going to basically scrunch the chart. It's essentially decreasing bar spacing and increasing bar spacing. So it's another way of changing the scale of the chart. And that's what those buttons will do at the bottom there. All right, and then pretty much this is the basic functions of the chart. It's really easy to use, very simple. If you right-click on the right side price panel of the chart, you'll get some different menu options as well. So, for example, you can move your price panel on the left side of the chart versus the right side. You can even have it on both sides if you wish. If you do, then just make sure that if you only want one side, just make sure you uncheck or check that particular side. So, for example, there, right axis is gone. Now you can see left is displayed. I personally like it on the right, so I'm going to go ahead and just change that. Okay, so let's go back to the properties here for a second because I actually lost the right side price panel, and let's grab it back and put it back on there real quick. There it is. All right, so that's actually a good thing that I just came across in the video because I accidentally disabled both panels, and I was wondering for a minute, how do I get back to it? So basically, if you make the mistake that I just did where I disabled the price panel on both sides, right-click on your chart, just go to Properties, and then just make sure you click on the scales, and you can go ahead and activate the panel again by clicking here on the right axis. Click OK, and now you can see it's activated once again. So, and then you have additional options. I typically leave the scaling on auto scale. What that typically means is when the market's trading as it is right now, as we move forward in time, there's going to be different graphic displays of how the candles are being generated based on market action. So if you leave it on auto scale, it's going to automatically scale the chart to look the proper way of the way it should look based on what the market's doing. So in this case, if you notice right now the top chart is 2106. If we were to go up to 2108, it's not like you're going to see this candle go off the chart. It will scale the chart appropriately so you can see the candle within the region of the chart. So it's always going to fit the way it should based on whatever device that you're using. So typically that's why I don't really mess around with the scaling too much, because I kind of feel that the developers of TradingView have an understanding of how this is going to work, so auto scale for me is usually the best choice. However, of course, all personal preference. You can go ahead and make the changes accordingly if you go into the scale properties, and you can go ahead and mess around with the percentages if you want to change things up. Other than that, guys, that's a quick introduction to how to use the charting. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and show you how to create indicators, how to save indicator setups, and also how to save chart layouts. So if you spend a lot of time making custom changes to the chart, jazzing up indicators, changing colors. I mean, I've seen customers have some pretty extensive setups where they take maybe, a couple hours, even days to set up a specific chart setup. So it would be a very inconvenient thing for you to go through the same exact process every single time that you create a new chart. So I'm going to show you in the next video how to save those layouts, so whenever you do create a new chart, you can simply apply that layout, which will save you a lot of time. Other than that, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you have any other questions, we are a 24-hour support team around the clock. Please give us a call at any time. We're at 312-893-6400. Extension 1. That's going to get you directly to our help desk. Otherwise, for more videos, please visit our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/AMP Futures. Again, that's www.youtube.com/AMP Futures. Thank you very much for your valuable time. We look forward to seeing you in the next video, and happy trading.